It's in the house.
Are you on the road yet, or when are you going to be leaving?
No, I'm on the process of urgently getting prepared to be on the road.
Okay, cool. Sounds
Awesome.
exciting. I would love an adventure like that. It's actually a pretty cool idea.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's amazing how many, it doesn't really matter about your political affiliations or anything like that. When you're out on the road, it's amazing how people will just show you kindness. It's just
I'll take that as a declaration of reality.
Yeah, well, it's my experience anyway. It's like travelers, and like Alex was out, I don't know when, I don't know, Monday, Tuesday,
Wednesday.
Yeah, and going to look at snow, and they got stuck in the mud, and the local farmer out with his tractor and like got them out the mud. It's like, really, what compensation does he get for being the guy who jumps in his tractor and helps somebody out in need? The good Samaritan.
He got a really big hug.
He got a really big hug. But I suppose that's big compensation. But really, it costs him energy, it costs him time, it costs him his whatever, And,
yeah, one of the first things I said to him on the phone is, I've got no money to compensate you at all, but I'm really, really in a position that I need help. And he was willing to assist anyway, so it was pretty cool.
Well, I've been in a position both of needing and of giving throughout my life, probably more so back in my early 20s when money seemed to not show up in my hands.
Yeah.
So it became barter, and not barter as, I have to do that. It just became just a way of life. Sure, I'll help you out. Yeah, I need some help. And people just seem to be amenable to that.
Yeah.
I still do it. We call it karma yoga.
Okay.
Certainly, at least if you take yoga training, the karma yoga is a big part of the training, and it's just doing good for others. Nothing that the Hindus have any lock on. This is universal. But just the way, I just do good deeds, right? That's all that it is, and I think people yearn to do that. They like to be of help for others.
Yeah, absolutely. And I truly believe in that is karma. If you're a good person, and you put good out there, you're going to get good in return. If you're a bad person and you always putting negative energy out there and hurting other people, you're going to get that in return. I mean, Brendan knows very well today who karma is. Just making just making snide comments and then tripping over the step seconds later and things like that. But
this is on record now, Brendan. I hear about your behavior this morning.
But we do everything in our power to just help out everyone that possibly comes into our life and comes into our space and just needs just a little bit of, even if it's just love, attention, and maybe even just a loaf of bread, whatever it takes. And you always find that those people and others out in the world will just reciprocate that energy.
Yeah. I don't know that there's a ledger, obviously in the Christian tradition, there's a ledger for Judgment Day, but I don't know that there's a ledger in karma that people can figure out the formula and then, but yeah, yes, I agree. What you put out is pretty much what you get back. It's the world that you create and the energy you put around. Some people escape it for a while and we think, boy, how'd they get away with that? But it's not for us to be their karma accountant,
Yeah.
Oh, I truly believe in karma. I really do. I will say something really mean, like in a joke, something's really stupid. And 2 seconds later, I will walk smack bang into the door and be like, yep, that's your payment back for what you've just said, type thing. I also believe in karmic energy through lifetimes as well. I mean, if you've been many lifetimes of being a negative, horrible human being, that's going to make you pay the price through your lifetimes ahead. Be nice and kind and loving as much as you can through your lifetime, because you don't know what your next lifetime is going to throw at you. And you want to be in the best positive grounds in that lifetime, I believe, anyway. I know it's like really, really out there, but I just, I think.
I'm glad you just said that. It's really, really out there. I'm going to segue it, though I don't know what your full topic for today is, Dennis, the breakdown. But I think it deals a lot with consciousness, what you just said, about it being really, really out there. And consciousness also being a factor of our mindset and our context of our beliefs and all that. I'm assuming that might be where we head today. So yeah, this is also part of it, is what are we conscious of? Our daily actions, which actually is the definition of karma. It's action. And then of course gets applied to various other places. But our daily actions and even our thoughts, we know how we put out a negative thought, or we put in a negative thought, or we allow an inside negative thought to take residence. And we just know what karmic responses just even a thought does, the ripples and resonances that it creates throughout our thinking and our emotion for the day. So yeah, I think it's all relevant. And Dennis, it's up to you.
This is all relevant. I'm not interrupting, even although we're like maybe about 8 minutes in already. So because I think this is great stuff. And what Alex was saying about, karma carried over into different lives. There's a book called, I think, Many Lives, Many Masters, written by a psychologist or psychiatrist in Miami, I think, in one of the hospitals there. It basically, how he, as a psychiatrist, tries to deal with people's problems. And he finds that nothing works in terms of Freudian psychology and all of the different methods he uses. Then he goes into hypnotism and regresses them into their past lives and finds traumatic events that have been carried on and brought into their next lives, and they've suffered from that. And by regressing them to those events, they're able to release that and dramatically change their way of life from that point onwards. So yeah, I agree. It's profound how karma is like so connected to who we are and the way we live our lives. So I love everything that all of you are saying. It's like it's perfectly in alignment with what I'm thinking of. So let's begin.
Good. Okay.
Help Save Our World Speak 75, Mastering Your States of Consciousness. Hello and welcome to our 75th Help Save Our World Speak online speakers meeting, where we are changing the conversation to change our world. I'm Dennis Moore, your host for today's 1-hour meeting. I'm here to guide you on your life and world transforming journey with this conversation based on my book, Beyond the Age of Ignorance, The Quest for the Truth, Change and Transformation. The underlying purpose of this book and these meetings is to empower you to change your life and help save our world through the process. Let's begin with introductions. Kurt?
Hey, Kurt from South Florida, and the world in general and the universe in every minute detail. And I'm happy here just to continue to stimulate my mind and to put thoughts that help me continue to stay on the track of being responsible and caring and loving for the world we live in.
Thank you, Kurt. That's excellent. Alex, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm based here in South Africa. My purpose for these meetings is to really get a good understanding of my life's purpose, my understanding of the oneness of the universe, and really bring that home, teach that to my children, and project that in my everyday life. I am part of this oneness, this whole, and all the karmic events that participate through that.
Excellent. Thank you, Alex. That's awesome. Brendan?
Hi, I'm Brendan. I join these meetings to find out more about how I can better myself and the people around me, as well as the world around me, through nature, through the animals, and if you want, the birds and bees, and any other process in which it takes to help develop a self-sustaining world that we deserve to live in.
Excellent, Brendan. Well done. Your awareness of your states of consciousness enables you to focus on and become more conscious. So you can control, practice, and master your states of consciousness. So you can become a fully conscious creator of your life and our future world, and affect the flow of a fully aware, conscious, wise, and enlightened humanity and our universe. What we do here doesn't only affect our world, it affects the energy tone of the universe. Last week, we spoke about the nature of the vibrations energy we're sensing. We spoke about our 33 scientifically proven senses, and also acknowledged our subatomic sensory ability, like seeing one quantum of light vibration emitted from an atom. We discussed how our senses detect motion, change, and patterns of energy. We spoke about perceiving the empty space of the universe as full of vibrating, flowing patterns of information, energy vibrating outwards in all directions from all energy beings. We looked at nature's radiant energy as patterns of information radiating outwards from those energy beings, like the sun and everything around us, radiating energy outwards in all different directions. Giving to others who receive that energy, take what they need of it and radiate the rest outwards for others to receive. This process is repeatedly happening in our giving and receiving connected universe. These energy beings are moving and flowing in energy compositions or symphonies of patterns of vibrational energy information. So everything that is composed of vibrations information. If you can really wrap your mind around that, that's an absolutely incredible understanding. These energy beings are moving cyclically and synchronistically in flowing connected relationships with other energy beings. Many move in synchronistic motion or relative relationships to one another, or in related motion ecosystems, as we see in solar systems, galaxies, and also as seen in universal expansion. It's a relationship. We're all composed of information energy patterns received from energy vibrating, moving, and flowing through one universally connected space. Those energy information patterns have and continue to be vibrating outwards in many different directions throughout electromagnetic space. That space is the connected vibrating energy field, ocean, or medium of electromagnetic space, and is what is composing our connected giving and receiving universe and everything in it. We also recognize that all that exists is composed of patterns of vibrating energy flowing in patterns, vibrating, rotating, spinning, helically, elliptically, or in vortices in all directions, forming, growing, living, dynamic, changing compositions or symphonies of energy flowing and flying through space. The rotation of vibrations energy and combinations of that energy slow down to the relative time base of reality from the speed of light. Thus, the relative motion of energy and our relationship to it affects our perception of the concepts of reality, like movement, change, time, and space. We're sensing these patterns of radiant information energy by selectively focusing on patterns of information energy, then recognizing these patterns of information energy. We name, label, and categorize them as things, where they actually are constant processes of change, but relatively slowed down. We also recognize that our recognition and perception of those things and reality is affected by the totality of our life's experiences, indoctrination, culture, languages, and cultivated perceptions. However, last week we placed minimal emphasis on our current state of mind or your health, attitudes, and habits. Your habits affect your perception of the world, your choices, and your behavior in our world. Your habits control your behavior and compose what is considered to be your personality. Your personality affects how others perceive you and behave towards you. Their behavior is based on their perceptions of your nature or in anticipation of your conditioned personal behavior or personality. Does anyone have any comments on the above or on what personal changes or states of mind you can make that will impact being your best and most functional selves? Good.
Yeah, I do. I'll see if I could tie it in because it was a long stretch with lots of universal information. No, that's okay. And I got where it's going. So the last part about our behavior triggers other people's interpretations of who we are. And it came to me early on, and I'll answer your last question about what we can do about it. But it came to me earlier on when you're talking about karma, that we often see karma, and I'll own this conversation, as payback for something. It's a zero-sum game. You do this, you get that, and everything evens out. And sometimes it's seen as punishment, depending on if you're the receiver, or sometimes even an observer saying, they got theirs for whatever. And it came to me that if one changes the context of karma, and instead of looking at it as that judgment day balancing, look at it, karma is a process to help us teach and learn, or actually learn and then maybe teach beyond that. But so I wrote down, it's a heads up on what I need to pay attention to or learn from a caring, sustainable universe. Now, to me, that's a little distinction from it's payback for your actions. And, there's a judgment of good and bad and all that. And for me, the universe is kind of neutral. I mean, it may have these little subsystems of checks and balances and evenness. So when I look at and like Alex said earlier this morning about she said or thought something and immediately got a payback, right? Use that word. So if we have a context of karma as a process in the continuum of our life experience and existence, then it's not a question of what do I need to pay back? It's what was it just telling me I need to pay attention to? So if I get, I cursed somebody out on the highway and then I took my eyes off the road and I suddenly rear-ended a car, right? So people, that's payback because you, did this and did that. And the payback is, it's just a lesson. And yeah, hitting the other car is another circumstance in life I get to learn from. So I think as we continue that process of what do I get to learn versus what did I do wrong, I think we can use karma in a much healthier way. Again, that's a judgment of what's healthy and what's not, but maybe a more effective way for us to live our life. And so I think when you're asked the last question about what can we do about it, specifically about our behavior and how it impacts others, is we get to continue to see others as working through their thing and not an attack on us, right? So as we see their behavior or their character or their actions and their words, whatever it is, it's not to take it personally, except to see what can I learn from observing this behavior and how it impacts me, without
Okay.
any need to respond if I don't have to. So that would be my answer, a long-winded one, but it's to get the judgment off of anything. Once we realize we're in judgment, drop it, let it go, and get back to a neutrality or objectivity. It's just stuff. So what's the best possible interpretation I can make of this that serves me and them? So I'll
Okay.
just leave it there. I don't know if that tied it in for you guys, but
Karma doesn't have to be a negative thing. Karma
Yeah.
can be all of the good things that you put out there, and living consciously, you create the positive karma in the world around you. Alex?
I just read a very short statement just before the meeting, and it basically said, remember, you're not just the wave, you're the ocean. I think we're reducing it down to a per person level here. I mean, I read something a while back that basically said that the prehistoric Homo sapiens, if one learned, let's say on the American soil, how to make fire, within a certain period of time, the entire world of Homo sapiens knew how to make fire. And this was basically an upload of information into the universe and a download at various points across the entire planet of these mindful beings on the planet. Now that goes the same for every other creature, microorganism on this planet as it exists. I mean, it's an upload and download of information. Information and energy is cycling through the entire universe all the time. So what we learn here is maybe being learned on another planet in the solar system millions and millions of miles away, because it is an energy universe, is an information upload and download. And I say that as like, it sounds too technical when I say it. It needs to be more understanding of we're all connected across everything. And obviously also through our lifetimes and through our cycles of life throughout our generations. I mean, the information that I leave behind after I pass on and my body remains here with Earth and with the energy that is about. I remember before COVID hit, there was just this massive positive energy like pumping through the planet. Finances were good. Everything was just amazing. And then COVID hit, and there was just this mass of negative energy that flowed throughout the entire planet. And for me, it affects me because, though I'm like going on my casual day, and I probably didn't even know COVID had even hit as a virus across the country, I was feeling that negative energy like pouring through me. If you are connected with the planet and with the energy around you, you're going to upload and download these feelings and data and emotions that the world is projecting at the time. And it's based on your beliefs and your structure on what information you're allowed to filter through your structured unconscious that you've grown up with and allow to penetrate. I mean, if you don't believe in karma, you're not going to accept it as a karmic event that is happening on you. You're going to, it's God in the sky punishing me, or slamming my finger in the door. Whatever it is, it's how you believe is how you're going to perceive that information and download that information and recognize it as you're connected to this information universe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Some awesome stuff there. Sorry, you can say it, Kurt. I know what you're going to say, but say it.
You know what I'm going to say?
I'm guessing I do.
Well, of course, because it's all sharing back and forth anyway.
There you go.
So, okay, tell me what I'm going to say, and I'll either nod or I'll say, and.
It's the collective unconscious of what's his name? Jungian.
Carl Jung, yeah.
Yeah, Carl Jung philosophy is basically we do put it out there and it's available for us to receive. So yeah, that was the first thing I was thinking you were going to say.
Well, yes, it's the line above the point I'm going to make. But yes, it's right on my page with it. So as I was hearing Alex, it just reminded me, and the word I was looking for was critical mass. And there's a concept. The story went anywhere that there were these monkeys on an island separated. You know, this one. I think the monkey was called Emo, or at least that's the way that my story goes. And one day, one of the monkeys started to wash its bananas in the stream for some reason. Just well, and so, or whatever the food was, and other monkeys observed it, and they started washing their food. And I think the story is called the 99th monkey. And at the point where 99 monkeys on that island began washing their food, then monkeys on other islands started washing their food without any connection, physical connection to the monkeys from that island. At least that's the way the story goes. So if we kind of believe that, it's like, where is the tipping point? Where is the last straw? And not in a negative thing. It's like at some point you put one more straw on it and the cart collapses. It just can't hold anymore. So even I think the Tibetan prayer wheels are, if you send enough prayers out, the world will change. You'll meet God, whatever it might be. So as we look at that, then I agree with you, Alex, that I think we do send our learnings, our faults, our traumas, or whatever it is, we do send those messages either up into collective consciousness through the genetic code, or just out into the universe. That at some point it can be picked up by others, and maybe if I use the straw in the cart image, maybe nobody else in the valley knew about how much weight could be put on a cart before it collapses, or that it's even possible. But once the cart collapsed and the noise echoed throughout the valleys, people said, "Oh, what was that? Let's find out." And they changed their behavior, they changed their knowledge based on that. So I think lots of things like that happen. And when we are willing to allow that information to come through, then we'll start to have that behavioral and attitudinal change, and even action change that we're talking about here.
Great. That's awesome. The one story was like with monkeys using a piece of grass to fish ants out of the hole to get more protein, and that was passed on through from island to island. There are many renditions of that story, but the theme is the same. Brendan?
No, nothing from my side. I think everything that's been said is brilliant so far.
Awesome.
And the fact that the energy that you put out gets received by others is very important, because if you put out positive energy, it allows the people around you to stay positive, number one, which entails a positive future.
I agree with that 100%. It's one of the huge factors which we'll get into now. I think that's awesome. Let's consider your possible states of consciousness in this world and lifetime. We'll consider being dead to be our most unconscious state because of our physical inability to interact in this world after death, as we're able to when we are alive, of course, living as autonomous, creative beings in this physical world. Although I know that there are states of consciousness in the afterlife, this discussion concerns changing your life while alive to improve your life and to help save our world. I would first think of the first state of consciousness or unconsciousness as being alive but comatose or in a coma, not or little able to interact with the physical world. Then I would think of being asleep, dreaming, not consciously controlling your mind and body. Next, I would think of lucid dreaming, where you're conscious that you're dreaming, and in some cases, even consciously able to control your dream experience. Then I would think of being awake, yet still being unconscious, unaware of the truth, and disconnected from life itself, existing through your life as a somnambulist, a sleepwalker. existing in the matrix as an enslaved source of energy and labor to those in power and their agenda, existing within their abstract, imposed, unreal reality, oblivious to the truth. You exist in their bubble of imposed ignorance, just like the humans existed in pods, cells, in their battery towers of power in the matrix, enslaved to empower the technological system with their destructive taking and plundering plan that was killing all life and destroying their natural world. Living in the matrix, you're unconsciously enslaved to their systems of greedy pyramid schemes. This unconscious conditioned way of life is destroying your world and racing all life to extinction in the process. This state of consciousness would be incorrectly perceived to be awake. Even though your eyes are open, you're not living your life. You're existing within your programmed, conditioned way of life, unaware and disconnected from your potential conscious connectedness and just accepting the societally imposed paradigm. You're unknowingly dumbed down, comfortably unaware, uninformed, misinformed, distracted, and indoctrinated. This paradigm of ignorance is designed to prevent you from awakening or choosing a better way of life or becoming more conscious. You're not dealing with your life nor taking responsibility for your life. The comforts, addictions, and distractions you're being subjected to, or even choosing for yourself, are keeping you from living your most honest, conscious, and connected, meaningful life. Your addiction to this way of life is keeping you stuck in altered states of consciousness, like an addiction to alcohol or drugs. You're stuck in your distractions and addictions. You often do this to try and escape from your discord between living your life by the truth and the externally imposed, unsustainable, unnatural, destructive ways of existing through your life. As a result of this and many more modern diseases creating discords within you, diseases creating discord within you, you're stuck in negative patterns of thought and behavior, stuck in immature victimhood. The following state of consciousness would begin with you choosing to awaken, but still not being fully awakened to the truth yet. So you start searching and finding that awakened, fully conscious way of life. You begin by seeking and questioning everything and thinking and reasoning and awakening through practicing what we've been teaching here. You write down the guidance, intuition, and dreams you receive. You're searching, breathing, meditating, and seeking that ultimate state of consciousness. You're changing your awareness, knowledge, perspectives, perception, values, and beliefs, and way of life, and becoming a more conscious being and changing your energy tone. The ultimate state of consciousness is always trying to improve your state of consciousness. But having traveled this quest for the truth, change, and transformation, you become much more awake, aware, informed, conscious, wise, and enlightened. You're now more fully able to connect to the many forms of consciousness of nature and the universe and control those states of consciousness at will. I'll stop there. I know that this was like a bit of a sidestep, but I think this awareness of consciousness and the fact that we're being disconnected from it is really important in that place, but we'll get onto the things that we can do to make a difference. Anyone?
Just to clarify, you think what was a sidestep, what you just said, the previous couple of minutes?
You know, we were talking about what we can do in our lives to change our state of consciousness and our perception and so on. But I just looked at consciousness as like an important factor in changing that perception. But there are other things that we can look at that are, like, I think, really important and easy to do. So,
okay, I'll go along with that.
any comments on our state of consciousness and, I don't know, possibilities or anything that you want to input there?
I think on terms of the positivity, like Brendan said, I mean, it takes one positive person to change the environment of the rest, the total of the household or the people around them. It just takes one voice to speak up, to really get people motivated to change, to be incredible human beings, and to really take action and move everything forward. It just takes one strong, independent, loving, growing voice to do that. And I mean, we all in our own rights are making those steps and taking those leaps forward to make the change that is required in the world.
That's awesome stuff, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. Kurt?
Yeah, I have a couple of things along that way. And I think awareness of consciousness is one of the last sentences you said just before Alex spoke. And I think that's absolutely critical. Many times we are living in ignorance, and that's just an unawareness of other options, right? And I think as we move from ignorance to wokeness, to use a common phrase, we go through a number of steps. We might skip them. This is not my absolute sequence here, but it's almost like the levels of grief, where at first we suffer, and then we do this, and then we that, and then finally we come up with a solution and let it go, and go to the next thing, right? So maybe that awakening from ignorance to whatever level we are at fully involves us being conscious of where we're at in the moment. So that being able to listen to our own thoughts, to our own beliefs, to our own conversations that we speak to ourselves and to put out is critical. The ability to observe and objectively observe. We know that we interpret and make up stuff anyway. How can we get to that point of at least let me observe it neutrally and then realize I'm about to put an interpretation on it? And as we can get to that kind of consciousness, then I say that things can change, and we can live and exist on a higher, more effective, more functional plane, whatever it might be. So on that part of the awareness, we were talking about how people can do things, actions, and their behavior can impact your impression and your own. And I use a quote often that is a tribute to Ralph Waldo Emerson. And it goes, "Who you are being shouts so loud, I can't hear a word you're saying." And it's, like we can speak on this level, and we transfer a lot of information, and we put a lot of weight on words. But the package that you're sending it with, those words are just a small part of the entire communication package. And you saw I was just doing this, my eyes, my hands, my voice, everything just start to automatically package it. Has so much more impact than just the content that we're looking to deliver. And so that's what we get to pay attention and listen to, is not just the words, but also the actions and the way it's packaged. So this comes with, in my case, I practice communication skills and teaching communication skills. And I've learned over the past couple of years, actually, some great meditative processes that would just work on presence and awareness. And you can start very simple with, let me just pay attention to my senses and just be quiet for 30 seconds. And okay, what am I hearing? What am I seeing? What am I feeling? And I'll offer it to you just now as a base one, but if you just be quiet and just listen or just use your senses, the three I just mentioned, go listening, touch, listening, sight, touch. And each one of those is me saying, I just noticed that particular sensory input, right? Could be a sound, could be ringing in your ears, could be your heart pumping. It could be the shadows, beneath your eyes, or a light flicker. It could be your fingers touching. Oh yeah, my feet are touching the ground, my butt's touching the chair. When we can get to those very basic physical awarenesses of what's going on, and then take them step by step and say, okay, I just said that to that person. That was their response. What am I making up now? What physical thing just responded in me to that? And what caused me to react to that? So I know I'm extending it a little bit, but I think that those levels of consciousness that you're referring to, I think require us to have a lot of presence to the machinery that we operate in order to function in the 3D world. And that then informs our beliefs and our thought processes. And then, we can take it from there. I'll leave it there.
Yeah, that's awesome stuff. The concept of beyond the age of ignorance is like based on this concept that we have been disconnected from the truth and from reality and from being consciously connected in every possible way. So this is like a revival of that conscious connectedness and awareness and knowledge and wisdom and everything that's involved in it. So to me, that consciousness is such an important factor. Okay, Brendan?
No, I got nothing to add from my side.
Cool. I'll just race on through this last section and see how far we get. Your state of consciousness is affected by what you've become, your values and beliefs, your moral code, your subconscious default settings, your perspective, perceptions, and what you're choosing to pay attention to. These life-altering changes are your journey of change, controlling your attention, processing the information you have chosen to focus on, and then choosing, acting, and creating a better future is at the core of this self and world healing process. Your combinations of habits, good or bad, will be seen as your personality by others. Therefore, living by your good habits, you will change your life and how others treat you. Your life can improve if you choose to be hopeful, optimistic, cheerful, positive, helpful, and kind. Live your life by the 5-second rule. Just do it, as Nike says. Choose a can-do approach. I can do it, while constantly improving your effectiveness and efficiency at getting things done. Be self-motivated to get things done without being asked to do it. The sooner you get it done, the better for all. And the more successful you begin to feel and become. It's only through doing that you feel achievement. Do what you do well. It was a song my mother used to sing to us when I was very young, and it set the tone for my life. Choose yes more often than you choose no, and get it done whenever you can and as soon as possible. There are, of course, limits to choosing yes without becoming the overwhelmed yes man or woman. Live your life balancing your life's choices and activities, necessary activities, with your needs and the needs of others. Pushing yourself a little bit harder most times seldom hurts, unless you're being taken advantage of by others. Choose to be self-disciplined and committed to living your best life and accomplishing your life's purpose, vision, and mission with passion. And the more you do in your life, and the more challenging your life, the more rewarding and better your life becomes. The adversity in your life and dealing with it makes you stronger, more confident, and better able to handle difficulties in the future. That's where you set your positive karma. It's like the more you do today, the more prepared you are for tomorrow, and the more you set yourself up for the future you want. Constructive routines help you get stuff done. Choose to be dependable, to help others, Choose to always be your best self for yourself and for others. Always choose to back others up when they are unable to do something and when they're in need. And hopefully they'll do the same in return for you. When you're focused on living your best life to the full and to the best of your ability, you become a great composer of your charmed life's symphony. You're in the driver's seat. I'm going to stop here because we're running out of time, so everyone else has a chance to speak, but we'll continue with this theme in the next meeting. Anyone want to respond to that?
Well, I'll just say that time went really fast today.
Oh my gosh. We've got like 9 minutes left.
I agree that our ability to choose is what creates our life, right? What we choose to pay attention to, what we choose to do. And I think we also have levels of choices available based on our levels of consciousness, I would say. And as we, I think, the 5-second rule that you mentioned, or, just try to do the best thing in the moment. These are all great things to remind us that it's just in this moment that we create the next moment. And we can either get thrown by the jerky driver or by the person that somehow offended us. Well, again, that's a made up thing as well. Or we can say, yeah, okay, that was an ugly thing to do, and I'd rather move forward with my life. And I think that has a lot to do with our level of purpose, or our connection with purpose. And this conversation's popped up a lot this week, so maybe that's why it's presencing now. And that if you don't have a purpose or something, and I'll call it a context in which and from which to operate, then it's really hard for you to make choices that are consistent with the kind of life you want to live, because you really don't even have that. Maybe subconsciously you do, and maybe subconsciously those are habitual routines that you don't even know that's what you bought into. So the whole idea of awareness, of presence with self, of just being in the moment to see how everything impacts you, and conversely, how who you are has impacted everything around you. And to see that dynamic in that relationship, I say is probably the greatest learn that we as human beings can get. And then to continue to practice it, because every moment gives us an absolute new choice to calibrate who we are and what we believe and what we don't want, and manifest our beingness in what we perceive to be the highest possibility.
That's awesome stuff. Wow. Alex?
I can't think of anything more that I can add to that. I think that's awesome.
Great. Brendan?
I think that's a brilliant aspect that Coach followed up on there and brought up. I don't have anything else to add to it. However, I think perception is also a big role to play in the aspect, the way you perceive yourself is the way other people will perceive you as well. I think showing people what an awesome person you can really be by being an awesome person to yourself and the people around you is a big factor in any living situation.
You set the tone, hey? You have the power to set the tone in your life and in other people's lives.
Exactly.
So
I mean, look when we go out, for example, it's like we go out, as soon as we walk in, everybody comes to the door and greets us and everything, because we have set that tone that we are the loving people coming into the thing, and people like us because we are going to have fun, do some karaoke or whatever, and just have a good time. We're not there to start fights. We're not there to be negative. If anybody bumps into us, we're just like, oh no, don't worry about it, dude. It's just an example.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Can I usurp a minute of time here? It might take 2 minutes. Okay, Brendan, I'm going to speak with you. So do I have your permission to interact with you on what you just said and the way you just said it?
Of
I
course.
give you my feedback on. Okay, I like to create permission though. Uh, so my experience of you, and this is over time, and it's probably nothing new for the people that live amongst you, is that whenever you're called upon, not always, but most of the time when you're called upon, you start with a negative, self-deprecating, I don't have anything to offer, nothing here kind of thing. And then you kind of roll it into, but maybe, and you work yourself around into coming up with the thought like you just did, the example of walking into a bar and who you're being affects the people around you. And I don't know whether this is your personality trait because it's just been a learned behavior from you, or it takes you a little while to ramp up the brain to speak, or to get the willingness or the overcome a fear to speak. So are you hearing me so far with objectivity?
Yeah, I think it's more of a fear of speaking to people.
Okay.
If I've gotten to know the person like properly, face to face, and
Yeah.
I don't have a problem speaking. I can literally go wild and never stop talking. And then they get irritated and leave because I'm talking too much. But that's not the point.
Well, there's another one of those self-deprecating. Yeah, I screw
Exactly.
things up. All right. So, and I've
But-
experienced you speak fine a number of times, and I've acknowledged it. So let me just drill down. I'm not a psychologist. I'm just somebody who's noticing behavior. So what is it about this group, like the four of us, that when, Brendan, do you have anything to add? You go into that routine first of all, rather than, yeah, I just had a thought about what you just said, or this is what I'm thinking. You tend to have to qualify yourself and back off until you can ramp up. So is there something that causes that in your relationship with the people around you, or just is this who you have become from years and years of being in group?
Nothing about the people around me at the moment. But in the previous situation that I was in, I was living with my mother and her husband. Okay, it's a bit of a personal one, but her husband was very abusive and didn't allow people to have their say. Which means I had to be careful of when I speak and how I speak. So I came from a very abusive background in terms of my mom's husband. So I tend to try not say anything at first, but then I realize, okay, well, I'm in a group with people that I'm safe with, and then I end up speaking.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, bingo. It's not just a personal thing. It is you, right? The personal stuff is you. So yeah, I can see that something has impacted you that way. So if you're willing, on the next call, I'm going to ask that that Dennis ask you first. Do you have anything to say? And you get to be prepared to know that you're going to be the first to respond, right? Were you willing to take that on?
Yeah, why not?
I don't know why not. I'm not going to make up a reason for that. But thank you. And yeah, I appreciate you working with me. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you, Kurt.
Yeah. Now,
That's
now go
awesome
shut
stuff.
that dog up.
That's awesome
We
stuff.
all appreciate your input there, Brendan. Every single word that comes out, it really it promotes the rest of the conversation. It really brings some valuable points in that we haven't touched on yet. So it's very important that you add your piece.
Yeah.
Thanks, my love.
It's so relevant to the conversation we have about our consciousness and the things that affect us. And certainly this is an underlying conversation that Brendan has and has had for a long time, and it's become part of his persona and his character. So part of what we are, when we start to get these awarenesses about who we are and how we show up, etc., it's an opportunity for us to say, do I want to continue to choose the habit that I've had, or I've adopted, or just allowed to happen, or do I want to choose something different? And certainly as teachers, for whether it's sustainability or consciousness or whatever, it's our opportunity to interact with others, to support them in what we think may help them. You don't have to do this, Brendan, and anything we say to anybody and teach anybody doesn't have to be adopted. But that we can create that atmosphere where it's comfortable and even appreciated to give feedback on that level. And I think maybe we had this conversation a year and a half ago about permission and at what levels, et cetera. But again, this group, I say, gets to be absolutely without concerns about how it looks and what's appropriate. And, I guess within certain realms of kindness and caring, we get to just share our perception and feedback to others. So I know we talk a lot about content and other ideas here, and I appreciate you allowing me to work with you on our relationship, because that's really, as we heard today, the basis of pretty much everything that we experience and create in
it's
the world.
important to get to know everybody like on a personal basis, the people that you are speaking to.
Yep.
It makes it more of a conversation, a comfortable conversation, if I can put it that way.
Yeah, you can.
Because knowing the person that you know makes it that you don't feel vulnerable around them. You don't feel like they can take something away from you.
Right.
And I think that's a big factor in any conversation.
Yeah, well, so there's a concern for safety and ego and image and all that involved in there and loss. So I get it. And then again, every moment is an opportunity to look and say, okay, what am I learning right now? And is this what I want to choose for the future or not? So yeah, thank you, Brenda, for continuing the conversation. Yeah, it's exactly what this is. It's putting into action what we just spent an hour talking about in some ways.
Can I chip in there just as like maybe the last?
No, you cannot.
Comments?
You may, but you cannot.
All right. Just me choosing the order of people speaking is maybe my unconscious protection of Brendan. Whereas maybe it makes it harder, now that I think about it, now you brought it up, is it makes it harder for him to respond if he has to hold on to a thought while each of us have our input, and then he only gets to respond. So that's not, it really is not considerate. My consideration is my inconsideration. So that's one learning concept there for me. But then the next one was, as I was listening to you, is, Brendan, if you can choose a positive response to the person who's just spoken, and that will lead you into your conversation. It's like I say, oh, I love that. I love these points that you brought up. It's like a positive emphasis on what the person before me has said, and then highlighting a few things they said introduces my then thoughts on what they've said. So it gets me going, it gets the wheels turning, and it's also inspired and motivated the person who've just spoken. So maybe choose that as like your default setting, not necessarily saying I love, but saying, I really appreciate you bringing up that point because blah, 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 blah. So having a positive starting point will lead you into a positive conversation. So yeah, anyway, so thank you. Sorry,
one comment on that, as long as you guys are here. So there's a process called yes and. Yes, I hear you, and this is what I respond to it or react to it. Brendan, you, with my scenario I gave you earlier, you work with the no, but yeah. So no, I don't have anything to say. I think what you said is all good, but I do have this thought about it. And so maybe it's just that switch from no, but yeah, to yes and yeah. Again, it's practice. In the classes that I taught, and again, the teachers, who knows who their student's going to be. Oftentimes there's the know-it-all, and I raise my hand for every single question and want to be the first to see if I can give the answer. And when you have a student like that in the class, and I've been feeling maybe I'm like that from time to time here, it's like it kind of stymies other people. As we said earlier today, your behavior impacts others and their behavior gets attenuated based on that. So what I would do is say, okay, Kurt, I know you've been willing to speak up every time. Let's move it around a little bit. Again, not to make me wrong and not to make other people wrong. It's just to spread the energy around the room. So because as Dennis said and Alex said, you have lots of good stuff and your opinion and your perspective is different than all of ours. And the way your mind thinks and what the conversations triggers is as valuable as anybody else's. It's not a question of who's got the better idea. It's just that, are you willing to contribute to the whole? So all of this is just to say, we love you, we appreciate you, we respect your knowledge, and keep on contributing.
I appreciate that, Kurt, and I love you guys too, with my whole heart. So I'm not even just saying that, I really do.
All right.
I've felt more of a family in this group than what I have ever felt in my life. So yeah, coming from you, I really appreciate that.
Awesome.
Well, I don't know what more we can say after that.
Yeah,
Wow,
I think that's
a great result for a conversation. Yeah,
I think that's a wonderful moment to end the formal meeting. You can carry on talking, but please like, share, subscribe, do all of the things that these videos need to get this to spread. I appreciate you all and thank you very much. And
Brendan, I didn't ask you about this, but your permission about whether the last 10 minutes gets included or not is totally your conversation with Dennis. I didn't say it to put it on record. It was really just the permission for you and I to talk. So
I don't mind, because it might allow other people that are watching the videos to feel a bit more secure, to know that they're not the only one out there that has the same issue, and also not the only one that has the issue that they are shy or scared to speak in public. So I don't mind at all.
Excellent.
Bang, wow, okay.
Excellent, thank you. That's great. All right, bye everyone.
All right.
Have a wonderful week.
Bye-bye.
If I don't see you through the week, I'll see you through the Zoom window.
Sounds good, guys.
Bye.
So long.
Bye.